I've covered a lot of undesirable individuals here in the United States, most of which have had or are still in some way connected to Hollywood. I've even tapped my toe a little bit in the direction of Disney, and I intend to keep looking in that direction in the future because there are a plethora of allegations and speculative cases out there against that company that are not common knowledge. I tried to take a bit of a break from some of this content, specifically because it felt bothersome and some of this information can weigh heavy on the mind. During that break, it seems that this was a mistake on my part. The people have spoken, and it seems that you guys want more information on creeps. So with that said, I think I'll be able to deliver. I do not suppose this particular video will garner much attention, as even though anime is probably more popular now than it ever has been, especially with quote-unquote nerdy pop culture becoming more and more acceptable literally all the time, it's still fairly niche. But I would like to turn my attention to the other side of the globe, to a place I've always wanted to visit, the birthplace of one of the most popular gaming companies of all time, some of the most memorable animations of all time, the home of giant robots and monsters. Let's take a brief visit to Japan and dig a little bit into the case of Nobuhiro Watsuki, the creator of Rurouni Kenshin. Nobuhiro was born on May 26, 1970 in Tokyo, Japan, but would relocate to Nagaoka, Niigata. As a young boy, Nobuhiro had a brother 3 years his senior. In his youth, his brother served as inspiration for his desire to pursue becoming a mangaka. Nobuhiro would also find inspiration in other artists as well, but eventually his brother would lose interest and stop drawing manga. In middle school, he would practice kendo and admitted that he was so weak, in fact, that he was embarrassed of his 183 centimeters of height, or roughly about 6 feet. Watsuki had never won a kendo match, and eventually would lose interest, grow frustrated, and quit. In high school, Watsuki would receive an honorable mention for the 33rd Tezuka Awards for his one-shot that he had created in 1987, known as Teacher Pon. This manga would be the first manga created by Watsuki, and to my knowledge has never been translated into English. As a matter of fact, I was never even able to find any scans of this manga. This was also the first written piece that would be under his pen name Nobuhiro Nishiwaki. He would also win the Hop Step Award for Hokuriku Yurei Kobayashi, which would be included in the Hop Step Award Selection Volume 6 in 1991. Once he graduated, Watsuki would move to Tokyo to work as the assistant for Yoichi Takahashi and Takeshi Obata. Notably, he would work on Mashin Boken Ten Lamp Lamp and Chikarabito Densetsu, of which the former title character would serve as the model for his own character, Sano. Other inspirations would include Kawakami Gensei, serving as the inspiration for Himura Kenshin and many others. In 1992, he created the first Rurouni Meiji swordsman romantic story, with the second one to follow in 93. These would be set in the Sengoku Jidai era of Japan's warring states. The first story would feature Himura Kenshin stopping a crime lord from taking over the Kamiya family dojo, while the second would have Kenshin saving a girl from being held for ransom by fallen samurai. In 1994, Rurouni Kenshin Meiji swordsman romantic story would seemingly make its first appearance in Shonen Jump. This story would take place in the 11th year of the Meiji period in Japan in 1878, and followed the protagonist and former assassin of the Bakumatsu, Hirokiri Batosai. Hirokiri would disappear and become Himura Kenshin, vowing to protect the people of Japan and never to take a life again. This series ran in the Weekly Shonen Jump magazine from April 1994 through 1999. In total, there were 28 volumes. It would later be adapted into an anime series which aired in Japan from 1996 to 98. The series also received an animated feature film and 2 series of original video animations, otherwise known as OVAs. These first stories from the manga would not be featured in the anime, while the second set of stories served as a sequel to the manga. Rurouni Kenshin would make its way to North America, with the first 2 seasons airing on Cartoon Network as part of the Toonami animation block, but only the 3rd season would be released on DVD only. The manga would reach over 72 million units in circulation as of last year, securing its position as one of the best-selling manga series, with the anime becoming one of the 100 most watched anime series several times. In 2001, he created Guns Blaze West, but this would run for less than a year. In 2003, Buso Renkin would be published, and in 2005 and 2006, he created 2 one-shots of Embalming for Jump the Revolution, which would become a series in Jump SQ in November of 2007, named Embalming: The Another Tale of Frankenstein. During the Buso Renkin run, and during the embalming runs, his wife Kaoru Kurosaki, also an author, would aid Watsuki in writing. Between 2012 and 2013, embalming would be put on hold to write Rurouni Kenshin Restoration in Jump SQ. In 2017, Nobuhiro would begin a direct sequel titled Rurouni Kenshin: The Hokkaido Arc. This arc would take place in 1883, with Humura married and fathering a child while still defending those in need despite his body failing him. This series would become suspended, and we'll get into why later and how it's managed to continue since that suspension. Worth noting, as this will be important later, Nobuhiro also mentored other mangaka such as Takehiro Yuki of Shaman King and my personal favorite, Eiichiro Oda, the mangaka responsible for One Piece. Nobuhiro would describe himself as pro-doujinshi, which is a Japanese term used for self-published works such as magazines, manga, or novels. This is often used for amateurs, but on occasion, professionals are known to participate in order to produce works and materials outside of the known regular industries. Watsuki would encourage his fans to send him fan comics and art as well. We have just a few more things I want to mention before I get to the reason for why we're really here, and by this point I'm sure that a lot of you are thinking to yourself, Goon, I'm not a weeb, I don't care about any of this stuff, I just want to know what the hell this man has done. Trust me, we'll get there. Most of the time I go to these links to show you how normal people seem and how their popularity often covers up something far more sinister and often elusive. For instance, Watsuki in his free time likes video games like Samurai Spirits. He likes to read the works of other mangaka and watching his favorite TV shows. He's also a fan of action movies and enjoys the American comic book franchise X-Men, Spider-Man, and Spawn. His favorite anime, which also happens to be one of my favorite anime, is Neon Genesis Evangelion. His favorite movies? Die Hard and The Matrix. On November 21st, 2017, Watsuki would see the Hokkaido arc suspended from publication, starting with the January issue of Shonen, which released December 4th, 2017. This would be the direct result of Nobuhiro Watsuki being arrested the very same day in November. You kind of have to wonder, how do people get themselves into these situations? How do they end up essentially being on top of the world and doing well? How can they live out their dream doing the one thing that they've loved since childhood and then just throw it all away for something that just doesn't make any sense? Watsuki would be arrested for possession of more than 100 plus DVDs and CDs of girls under the age of 18 that were apparently obtained in 2015. He also stood accused of violating the law prohibiting underage prostitution. He would state that he, at the age of 47, had interest in nude children, which is why he purchased the DVDs. Authorities mentioned that Nobuhiro would go on to say in his deposition that he liked girls in late elementary school to around the second year of middle school. Disgusting. Nobuhiro would become a person of interest due to another ongoing investigation. I wasn't able to grab the specific details of this investigation, but I did manage to find a link that led me down a rabbit hole of several arrests made in Japan of various figures of power for the same exact crimes. In Japan, CP possession can only lead up to 1 year of imprisonment and a fine of 1 million yen, or roughly at the time of this writing, $8,800. CP has been illegal in Japan since 1999, while actual possession has not been outlawed until just a few years ago. In 2013, a U.S. Department of State report noted that Japan is known as an international hub for the production and trafficking of CP, meaning that this issue extends well beyond Watsuki. What I find the most disturbing in this case is that Nobuhiro Watsuki did not face any jail time at all. Even after the content was found within his office and admissions of his crimes, at most Watsuki had received a fine of 200,000 yen, which only equates to, at the time of this writing, $1,865. This is hardly a punishment fitting of the crime, at least not in my opinion. Even the weight of a single year in prison does not constitute enough for the damages that are done. It does go to show you that, no matter where you are in the world, people like this can get away with these sinister crimes and face minimal punishment. Yes, his reputation is permanently stained and he will likely never find work again for this heinous act, but... oh... wait a minute. In June of 2018, the Hokkaido arc resumed publication. Watsuki was suspended for half a year before going back to work with Shonen Jump magazines. Of course, this has been met with disgust and outrage. How could this even be possible? How could the company behind Shonen Jump continue as if no crime had been committed? Jump Square's editorial department would go on to state, This work has been suspended for a long time, but we deeply apologize for causing a great deal of inconvenience and concern to our readers and related parties. The writer is still living days of remorse, but I think that it is also the responsibility of the writer and the publisher to respond to various voices from everyone through making works. So in July of this magazine, we've decided to resume the serialization from this issue released on June 4th. We would like to ask that our readers have understanding. This is such an odd parallel to the Kenshin series, as its focus has always been solely on the atonement of one's sins and focused heavily within the confines of morality. As it stands, Kenshin is still being published in Shonen Jump magazines, while Viz Media has stopped with the English translations altogether. Viz has not offered a statement as to whether or not they will continue the publication or not, but it's safe to assume that they likely won't. Even more upsetting is that Eiichiro Oda of One Piece fame went on to interview Watsuki in April of 2020. This was, of course, met with an uproar on social media, and though I suppose to some degree that does not make Oda a bad person, it is a bit of a hard pill to swallow, thinking that he would even associate with someone known to be in possession of adult content that featured 13 to 15-year-old girls. But I digress. What are your thoughts here? Do you still support Rurouni Kenshin if you ever did, or have you given up on it altogether? How do you feel about Oda still associating with Nobuhiro even after admitting to the crimes and being charged? Is this yet another situation of separating the art from the artist? Was justice delivered, or has a monster been allowed to continue to walk among us? Let me know down in the comments below. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Make sure that you turn on notifications so that you get notified every time I release a new video. Make sure to leave a like. Please make sure to leave a like. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.